Okay, so they want us to find the domain of these functions. So remember, we're looking for two things. One, is there a chance that we would be dividing by 0? We're looking for that. And are there any square roots? Okay, that's the other thing. So on this first one, A, it's a polynomial. There's no denominator, other than 1. And so, the denominator's not going to be 0. And there's no square roots. So that means everything will work. So all real numbers, which is the domain's going to be -infinity to infinity. All right, the next one, there is a chance that this denominator could be 0. So we're saying, when does x squared minus 2x minus 3, when does that equal 0? Because we can't have that. We can't have that. So whatever those numbers are, we can't have those. We can solve this by factoring. If you don't want to factor it, you could use one of the other methods, completing the square, the quadratic formula, something like that. This is how it factors. So x cannot be 3, and x cannot be -1. Now on a number line, what that looks like then is, here you are at 3. Okay, I can't have 3. Oh, they use the parentheses, don't they? So don't include the 3. And then I can't have -1. So don't include the -1. But these numbers in between and those are fine. Okay, how do you write that in interval notation? Well, the domain's going to be from -infinity up to -1. So you got to go left to right. Union, and then you can have the numbers between -1 and 3. And then union from 3 to infinity. And it just barely kind of fits in there. Okay, so kind of a long way to write it, but that's the interval notation, and that's how we write it. So we're saying we can have any real number except we can't have -1 and we can't have 3. Now here we have a square root. So the 3x plus 12 has to be greater than or equal to 0. It can equal 0. You can take the square root of 0. That's 0. Okay, so subtract the 12, divide by 3, and you get x is greater than or equal to -4. So what does that look like in interval notation? Well, the domain's going to be then from -4 to infinity. Okay, so now let's look at this one, D. We have two things going on. First of all, we can't have the denominator be 0, and 14 minus 2x has to be greater than or equal to 0. But the square root of 14 minus 2x cannot be 0, okay? Whoops, sorry about that. Cannot be 0. So I can't really have it be equal to 0. What I really want to say then is 14 minus 2x has to be greater than 0. Then I can take the square root of it, and it won't equal 0 because I don't want it to equal 0 because I don't want the denominator to equal 0. Okay? So this time we don't have the equal to part because of this up here. All right, this is an inequality. We can solve that. Subtract the 14. X is less than 7. Okay, so x is less than 7. And that would be the domain. Extra line in there. The domain is, well, now it just looks messy. Try to fix it here. The domain is -infinity to 7.